Hey, joining us now is Breitbart News contributor AWR Hawkins. His wheelhouse is sort of the whole gun as well as border issues, and both guns and borders are
very much in the news. No
right
kidding.
Now, in fact, AWR is the guy who broke that story about Mark Kelly attempting to buy the AR-15 assault weapon down there in Arizona. We talked about that a lot. In fact, what's the latest on that? Real fast, AWR Hawkins, thanks for joining us this morning. He got denied this thing, right? But he tried to videotape it so that he could prove how easy it was to get a background check. What happened there?
Oh, yeah, great to be with you guys. Yeah, he tried to videotape it, and what he did, we've caught him now, he edited the videotape so that it didn't show him purchasing or attempting to purchase the AR-15, and that way there's no public record or acknowledgement of the fact that he was rejected on that purchase. So to make background checks look easy, he edited out the hard parts. That's what it boils down to.
All right. Well, I'm glad you're there to catch him on things like that. While we're talking about background checks, let's talk about this. It seems like this is the one thing that may actually make it to the floor of the Senate.
I'm not sure, though.
Maybe. And of course, Dianne Feinstein's quote-unquote assault weapons ban is supposed to be put up for at least for a vote on as an amendment. Where do things stand in the Senate right now after we saw Senator Flake and Senator Graham this weekend basically say these things have no chance? Where do you think it stands?
I think it stands about where they said it does, and the reason is I have a piece coming out later this morning. A senator out of Connecticut, Blumenthal, is going to add a high-capacity magazine ban as an amendment to background checks. As soon as that happens, it's over.
Wow.
Because no one will vote for that, and so these things will be damned via the amendments added to them.
You know, the thing that's troubled me about this whole process is that all of the discussion about gun laws, when you talk about it in Congress, they were never really ever going to go anywhere. Nothing significant was ever going to pass the Senate, and certainly would not pass the House. So why go there? Why are they continuing to have these conversations? Because it doesn't seem like there is the political will in Congress to actually pass any of these laws.
No, I agree with you. My whole thought from the start is that this was a way to appeal to their radical base, because I believe, as radical as Obama is, he did not play to his radical side. Apart from economics, he did not play to his radical side during his first term. And I believe we're in a no-holds-barred situation for the second term, and it was part of the appeal that they're going to make in every facet throughout the second term.
All right, so we know that nothing's going to pass out of Congress the way it looks right now, not much. But that's not true in the state of Maryland. Right?
You're correct. In the state of Maryland, while you and I and other rational people were celebrating Easter as Christians, or we were celebrating Easter as a commercial holiday with eggs and so on and so forth, while we were doing that, Maryland Democrats were ramming through SB 281, which is O'Malley's assault weapons ban. And what that ban does, it has a two-prong attack. Number one, it will outlaw the purchase of assault weapons in that state. But number two, if you own assault weapons and someone breaks into your home and steals it, you are held liable for their thievery rather than the person who stole the gun. So it puts all the weight on the gun owner, not the thief.
So you're telling me if somebody breaks into somebody's house and steals a gun and uses that in the commission of a crime, it's the person who owned the gun's responsibility and not the person who actually committed the crime?
Right. And let me tell you this. People need to understand this. A Republican delegate put up an amendment to change the language, to change what you and I discussed, so that the thief would face the punishment, not the homeowner. And Democrats had a second vote to be sure they could defeat that, because that amendment passed the first time.
Oh, it did.
And so they voted again to be sure they could defeat it. And after some arm twisting, they defeated that amendment to make sure that the gun owner will be punished, not the criminal. We have to keep that clear.
Let me just ask you this question, because I heard our police chief here in the District of Columbia say, before I went on my little trip, she said that it is exceedingly rare for legitimate gun owners who follow the rules and the regulations, who do everything that the law requires of them, to use those guns in the commission of a crime. And yet it seems that all of the legislation that we are proposing and all the legislation that's coming out, say, for example, in the state of Maryland, is aimed at the people who are not the problem.
You're exactly right. I mean, I did some work for Breitbart. I'm going to say it was 2.5 months ago, Brian, and here's what we found out. Rifles, not just assault rifles, but all rifles are involved in 0.012% of deaths in America annually. That's an approximation. 0.012% of deaths. And yet here we are, all this focus on banning these weapons. It makes zero sense.
Yeah, and AWR, just so you know, you're reporting on what Republican delegate Mike Smeagol did in the House of Delegates in Annapolis. What you just did here is more reporting than you see from most of the local newspapers and local television stations here that are supposed to cover Maryland politics. And you're down there in Texas, so I appreciate you staying on top of gun laws all across the country. Let's go back to Texas.
I thought I detected an accent.
Yeah, did you notice something there?
Yeah, ear. I sure did.
Hey, AWR, while you're in Texas, I mean, the horrific story of this assassination of the district attorney down there in Texas, that is obviously a national story. What more do you know about this, and how does it relate to border issues, if at all? Because I hear some people saying this is a Mexican gang problem, a drug cartel problem, but other people are saying that it's a white supremacist group. What is the story?
Well, the story I have may not exceed the story you have at this point because everyone is still speculating, but the story I have is that people are pointing fingers at the Aryan Brotherhood. The problem is many of the same people are saying the Aryan Brotherhood in this instance was a front for the Mexican cartel or was working with the Mexican cartel, I should say it that way, so that I don't know that you can separate one from the other in this assassination, and this is just going to have to be sorted out a little bit. I do know that as with the assistant district attorney who was gunned down on the steps on March 19th in Kaufman County, the killer in this instance has not been seen, has not been found. They don't know who they're looking for. So we have these two assassinations. No one has any idea really who did it, and so it's all speculation right now. But
there is definite concern down there that because these killers have not been found, that there's some sort of killing spree potentially on public officials. That's got to really bother the citizens of Texas.
No, you're exactly right. Now, here's the thing. For the Aryan Brotherhood, this hasn't been publicized much, but in Kaufman County, there is a meth lab problem, and the Aryan Brotherhood is tied to the meth lab problem. So that is known. So on prosecutions against meth lab personnel, well, then you can see a justification for Aryan Brotherhood being involved.
Sure, but that is connected back to the Mexican drug cartels. I see that.
At the same time, that goes back to them.
All right, AWR, we got a roll here. Always good to have you. Actually, this is our first time having you, but it was really great. Hope to have you again. AWR Hawkins, he's a contributor at Breitbart News, also a PhD in military history. We got to call him Dr. Hawkins from now on.
Very cool.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you all. Great